Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call podcast. I am Melissa Deely, your host, and I am super excited to bring a colleague and friend of mine to you today, Dr. Melissa Balazan. Welcome, Dr. Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. It's an honor for me to be here.
Well, you know what's funny? This is the first time I've had another Melissa on the show. So we're going to be going back and forth, Melissa, and hopefully the audience can stick with it. So I'll call you Dr. Melissa so they know who's who, but kind of fun. And I just want to introduce you to the audience, a little bit of all the amazing work that you do and you bring to the world. So Dr. Melissa has a passion for vitality in others, working with her clients who are frustrated with only treating the symptom and desire to uncover the root cause. As a #1 best-selling author, international speaker, TV show host, and Short Talks TV star, she educates on health, self-care, stress management, showing that everyone has a voice and a choice when it comes to your health. As a consultant and concierge pharmacist, she serves as an advocate for individuals' health and medicine needs with over 52,000 clinical hours of healthcare experience combining Eastern and Western medicine. So those of you who have listened to this show for a while will now fully understand why I wanted to have Melissa come on the show, because of course what she's doing and what I'm doing is so aligned, and yet we do it in different ways. And I want to share with you everything that Dr. Melissa has to offer. But first, I just want to hear your background story as to how you got into this field, Dr. Melissa.
Awesome. Yes. So I'll go way back. So in high school, I kind of knew I wanted to go into medicine. I love science. I love math. And I was introduced. I loved going to the pharmacy as a child. It was this mom and pop store, and it was really cool. And somebody had said something one day, and they're like, well, what about pharmacy? And so I kind of explored it more, and I looked into the field, and I decided, okay, well, pharmacy makes sense. I don't want to go and be a physician, but I can get everything I need in pharmacy. So I ended up going to pharmacy school, knew right out of high school where I was headed, where I was going. My main focus for going into pharmacy was because a dear family member had been struggling with health. And I went in with the great assumption that I could come up with a cure for her, because that's what I was going to do. I was going to go in, I was going to do the research, I was going to find this cure, because she'd been put on these horrible medications. And the doctors just kept saying, oh, it's in your head, it's this, it's that. And that's why I really want to make sure people understand they have a choice when it comes to your healthcare, and it's not always all in your head. And so what happened is I actually came up with a combination supplement regimen, few medications for her that the hematologist, which is a blood doctor, approved for her, which I was ecstatic as a pharmacy student.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yes. So that got me stoked and promoted. And along the way, I decided I didn't want to work in a lab forever. So I didn't want to be in research. So I wanted to go out, and I ended up being in a hospital. So I was a hospital pharmacist for nearly 20 years. In there, I helped people optimize their medications. I helped them streamline the medications in the hospital. I also ran a couple of ambulatory clinics, did a lot of different things within that hospital career. There came a point in time in my life where my health actually started to suffer. I didn't see it because I was blindsided by I thought everything was fine. I was actually assistant director, doing fine. And what I realized is that when I started this particular area, my health really started to suffer, and I didn't notice it right away. It actually took me 4 years as a healthcare professional to realize that I needed to make a change. And that change actually needed to be that I needed to have some surgery. And I had gone through all the steps. I had gone to all the physicians because I was there. I went and saw all the ones, and until 4 years later, when I finally got to a physician who helped me discover and uncover the root cause, I had the surgery that I needed. I also realized that the root cause was a lot of stress in my job that I could not make go away. So there were certain things that just wouldn't go away. I could control only so much. And so I took a huge leap of faith and I walked away from my job. Now, I wouldn't recommend that, but I did. I took that leap of faith. God has taken great care of me because He had better plans for me. He knew
and what
that
you also did, excuse me, what you also did was you trusted in yourself, and you knew that you had to look after yourself. Because if you didn't, you were just going to come back to right where you were. Even though you'd had the surgery, if nothing was changing in your environment, in 4 years down the road, you'd be back where you were.
Exactly. Actually, the physician who did the surgery told me I'd be back in 6 months.
Oh, wow. So, yeah.
And I said, no. I'm like, something has to change. So I really started looking deep within. And I did. I figured out it was the environment that I could not change. Things had changed there. And so it was best for me to walk away. And now it's been 5 years and I have not been back to see that surgeon. So very, very grateful and thankful for that. Yes. And so it led me to this deeper path where there's more people for me out here to help them really understand their medications. Those, so some of the features are people don't understand why they're taking something because they just take it because their physician said to. And here's a fun fact for you. Your physician on average had about 600 hours of pharmacy training. And I have, well, as you heard, well over 52,000 hours. So I know just a little bit about medications and a little bit about supplements. So definitely put on a higher plane, a higher path for me.
Right. And the other thing with doctors too is that the appointment times are so short now that they may know why. Well, they're clearly prescribing something. They have a reason for doing so, and they may explain it to the patient. But the patient's only absorbing 10% of what's being heard anyway, right? So they might have just heard the diagnosis and got stuck there and didn't hear anything after that. Yeah. Or because the doctor's rushing through, they're not picking up on all the nuances of what the doctor is trying to explain.
That's it. That's exactly right. I have seen a lot of patients come in. They have 3 new scripts. They walk in, to the pharmacy, or they're walking out when I was doing discharge counseling, and they have the deer in the headlight looks. Mm-hmm. Their eyes are glazed because they were just shocked with this new diagnosis.
Yes.
And now they've been given 1, 2, 3 after a heart attack, 6 new prescriptions. Yes, 6. Ooh. That's correct. And there's a reason behind that.
Right.
But they're overwhelmed. They're
yes.
hugely overwhelmed.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard to absorb all of that at once. And especially, like I said, you hear the diagnosis and your brain kind of stops there anyway. And you don't hear anything for the next, 5-10 minutes until your brain can catch up because you got stuck in a kind of a diagnosis hypnosis for a moment.
Exactly. So I'm now available to help triage the situation, help sit and listen, understand why you've been put on something. Let's find out if it's actually the right thing for you. Because sometimes it's not, sometimes you're having an adverse effect. Sometimes you're having a side effect. And that medication, yes, you may need a medication for a short period of time. I do believe in both Eastern and Western. So there is a time and a place.
Absolutely.
But you're not given a life sentence usually. Yes. Of a medication or a supplement. And that's what I want people to understand is just because you've been diagnosed with something, air quotes for those listening, it's because that's the medical world. That's the medical world is you come in and you get a lab, and we then give you a label for that lab.
Yes.
We give you a label for what has, and that's history. That's what we have. That's what has been ingrained in us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to change that. Melissa and I are trying to change that path and get people to understand that your body and your health makes a difference, and you don't have to be labeled with a certain thing.
Right. And that it's far more important to be getting to the root cause, as you did. It took you 4 years, but when you work with practitioners like you and I and others on the holistic side, that's the focus from the get-go.
Yes.
Because when we understand the root cause, then we know how to guide your healing journey to true healing, so it's not just rebounding. And we're not just masking a symptom, and then the body goes, that's not what I wanted, so I'm going to give you another symptom to try to get you to do what I wanted you to do, right? And then you get another drug, and that's not the path that we want people to be going down.
Exactly.
But I absolutely love what you do in terms of really educating people as to why they're on a medication. Is it the right medication for them? And letting them know that it doesn't have to be a medication for life. That medication can be used to stabilize the body. Then you can help wean them off safely, because that's what you're trained to do. And after that, maybe it's nutrition, maybe it's supplementation, maybe it's a little bit of both to support the body where it was deficient that caused the problem in the first place.
Exactly. And it does. It's all about getting to that root cause, quit covering it up, and knowing that your body is very, very smart, and your body will heal itself if you give it time. And yes, you need to support it along the way. That could be with lifestyle changes, movement, what you eat, what you put in your body supplement wise. It could be medications for a short period of time. And as Melissa said, yes, getting off those medications safely. So anybody listening, please pay attention. Do not just stop a medication. I don't care what kind it is. Don't just stop it. Now, if we're talking antibiotics, then you need to finish that antibiotic to its duration, and then you stop it. You don't stop it premature, because that causes other problems we could talk about another time. But safety, because our core is still making sure that you are safe and taken care of.
Absolutely. And that's where I love referring people to you, because I have people coming to me to do my detox, for instance, or they want to get to root cause. So we're going to run labs and we're going to run protocols. But there can be contraindications between my all natural protocols and the medications that they're already on. And so that's where I love being able to refer people to you, and so that you can do that assessment, because I don't do it. And then send me that report and the client of letting them know what is safe for them to do within my protocol and what isn't, or the timing of taking their supplement versus the medication, so that we can make it work. Because as you say, safety is, all important at the outset for everyone.
Exactly.
And I don't know anybody else that does what you do, in all honesty. And so that's why I'm so happy to have met you and learned about what you offer, because it is so important. And you obviously have people coming to you looking to come off their drugs, but I hear it all the time. Mm-hmm. And, people don't want that life sentence.
They don't want the life sentence. I went to deliver actually holiday treats yesterday. And even one of the gentlemen I stopped to talk to, he's like, well, I was just put on this medication. He's like, I don't know that I want to be on it. So we had a little conversation. He's my neighbor, but we had a little conversation. But even he's like, well, I don't know. And the thing is your physician, he goes, well, they told me I'd be on it for a month, and it's been more than a month. So we had a conversation around that. But people don't always understand is that when they go in to see their physician, usually, so let's go backwards. The expectation. So, and I had this expectation, of course, I'm in this field. If I'm going to go see my physician and pay them some money, well-deserved money, I'm going to expect something when I leave. I expect to walk out with a piece of paper that says a medication on it. That has been the standard. I even saw a cartoon the other day. Little kids teaching them, patients sick in bed. Oh, the doctor comes in, writes a prescription. for these little kids. I'm like, okay, let's change that mindset. We go into our physician, we talk through our problems. Maybe you need a medication, maybe you don't. Maybe there's other things, but you hit this early on. Our physicians aren't given the time to sit and talk to us. They may have done more education on medications. May have done more education on nutrition. Now, most medical schools are very limited on that.
Yes.
But they go out, they educate themselves, and they truly want to help you.
Absolutely. That's why they went into that line of work in the first place.
Exactly. They truly care about you. So don't think that they don't care about you. They do. They're forced to cram in so many patients in order to get food on their table.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a broken system in the way that it's set up financially.
Yes.
And we all see that. And I know of a couple of physicians that have found me on LinkedIn because they see what I'm doing and they actually want to come out of the mainstream medical world and into wellness because they're frustrated by not being able to have the time to spend with clients.
Right.
And they're trying to do that without forsaking their board's position because they've invested all that money in becoming a doctor and all those years of training, but be allowed to work on the wellness side. And one doctor said to me, people come in and I know that their problem is stress, but stress is a 45-minute conversation to get them to understand it, what they can do about it, give them some options, create some accountability. And I don't have 45 minutes. And they expect something from me, and the clinic is demanding something from me. So I end up writing them a prescription for anxiety because they're all hopped up and anxious. And I feel guilty every time because I know that's not what they need.
Yep. That's it. That's exactly right. And then the patient comes out and they go on the medication for a while, and then all of a sudden it's 5 years later and they're still being prescribed it. And now they have a different physician, and that physician just continues to prescribe it. And if they ask their physician, often their physician will say, no, you can't go off of that. Well, you can, but you have to go off of it safely. You have to go off of it slowly. And when you have a physician that says no, I recommend you have a conversation with that physician and find out if that's really the best one to be treating you, because it's a two-way street and your physician does want to help you. So find one who you can click with.
Yes. And I love that. I also love to say to people to get a second opinion. So if the response that they're getting isn't aligning with them, or their body is giving them symptoms that is indicating that that's not what they wanted, to go and get a second opinion. That's totally in your right to do so. And as you said, find that physician that will give you options. And actually, a different physician said to me once, he was on my podcast, and I made a comment about this or that. And he's like, that could be a book title. Because he really liked the idea that physicians, instead of just saying, this is what you have to do, it could be, you could do this or that. Again, they don't have the time right now, so it's not happening, but wouldn't it be nice to get to that place, right? And I have a funny story I want to share. My mom is in Australia, and she's in her 70s. And she moved 7 years ago. And when she moved, she had to find a new doctor because she moved like 2 hours away. And she called up a local clinic, and she said to the person that answered the phone, I would like a doctor that will listen to me. I would like a doctor that will work with me. And I think there might have been one other statement there. And the receptionist said, oh, I know the perfect one for you. And she has a wonderful British doctor in Australia who does allow her to let him know what the symptoms are and what she's thinking might be best, and getting his feedback. And it's kind of a two-way conversation, as it should be, to decide on the best solutions, because my mom very much wants to be on the holistic side. And she has this doctor's support. So I love that she found him. But what I would really have loved is for that receptionist to have said, all of our doctors are like that, as opposed to, I have the perfect one.
Right? So true. So true.
Yes.
Kudos to your mom for standing up and asking for what she needed.
Mm-hmm. And that too, like I say, when people can ask, go get a second opinion, is being aware of what you can ask for, right? It's your body, it's your health. When you go negotiate the mortgage on your house, you ask for what you want, you negotiate, right? Mm-hmm. Your house is one of your biggest assets. People think it's their biggest asset. I tend to tell people their health is their biggest asset, and we need to look after our health the way we look after our house, right? Mm-hmm. And so we can do the same with our health and ask for what we need. And not every doctor is going to be the perfect doctor for every person. Find the one that you can work with. And now it may be easier because there's still so many appointments on Zoom post-pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I love, love, love the work that you're doing, helping people truly understand why they've been prescribed what they've been prescribed, and is it the right medication for them, and do they still need to be on it 5 years later or even 6 months later, mm-hmm. and helping them navigate safely coming off that medication. Awesome. So I hear you say sometimes that your medication supplements may be killing you, which sounds kind of drastic, and I know it gets people's attention, but just elaborate on that and what your experience is with that and what you see in that world.
So yes, I do a little play on words there. What you may not know about your medications or supplements may be killing you. And that's the truth is that what you're taking, so if you're taking a medication and a supplement together, and those particular medications and supplements interact with each other and you don't know it, you could be killing yourself from the inside out. You could be detrimental to your body. You could have a side effect to a medication that you don't even know about it. It may come on, I don't know, a month, 2 months after starting the medication. And so it's not realized that it's a side effect starting so late, because a lot of times side effects will start within a day or two, mm-hmm. sometimes longer. And those side effects could be detrimental. Some of those side effects could be death. If you listen to the commercials on TV, you'll hear them rattle off, da, 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 and then death. And death can happen from medications, from supplements, from driving a car, from walking down the street. It's imminent, okay? But if you can take precautions and be smart, educate yourself on what you're taking, what you're putting in your mouth, which pills are you putting in your mouth. Just because it's the best pill for your friend or your neighbor doesn't mean it's the best one for you. Supplements are not created equal. So if you're getting supplements that they're not following basic standards like good manufacturing processes, they're not doing testing, you could be taking things that have contaminants in them. And those contaminants could be causing more problems. They could cause cancer. They could cause death. They could cause, I had to throw that in there, good. They can cause side effects. They can cause different disease states to manifest. All these things. So number one, when you're taking supplements, make sure you're getting good, high quality supplementation. I know that Melissa has a source. I have a source of getting good, high quality supplementation. So don't just buy it at your big box store. Don't just buy it at your local grocery store. It's not necessarily that you need to pay a lot of money, because there's some inexpensive supplements out there from good quality sources. But just make sure you know where you're getting your stuff, understand why you're on something, educate yourself. Okay, I'm taking this particular pill because I have high blood pressure. Well, then let's check your blood pressure regularly. And then let's get you off of it if you don't need it. If you develop a cough with a particular medication, we want to go and look, is that medication going to kill you later on in life because that cough is so severe. It's going to damage your lungs. It's going to damage other things. These are all possibilities. And this is the kind of little tip of the iceberg on what you may not know that may be killing you. So educate yourself is what I would say first and foremost.
And I 100% agree with all that you've said there. And to add to that, supplements and educate yourself and the importance of buying from a good quality functional medicine brand is multifold. Not only all of those things that you've said, but also the lesser quality ones very often don't even have enough of the ingredient in them for the body to do something with. So I hear people say all the time, oh, I don't take supplements because that's just like pouring money down the toilet. If you're buying the lesser quality products, that's true, because you're taking them thinking that you're getting, good vitamin C, or it's a multivitamin, it's got everything in it, but there's not actually enough because the company's made it cheaply so they can sell it cheaply. Mm-hmm. Or there's a lot of fillers in it, and that's where the contaminants come in that you mentioned as well. So that is the most important thing with supplements. They do serve a purpose in today's world, absolutely, because we do have deficient soil systems. It's harder and harder to get all the vitamins and minerals that our body needs, especially when we're highly stressed and burning through them and we're getting into this deplete state. But it has to be good quality brands. So I love that you shared that. And I don't watch TV very often, but recently the World Cup soccer was on, and I was watching some of those games with my family and hearing those pharmaceutical company ads. And they go on and on and on. And at the end of it, I'm just like, why would anybody ask their doctor about this drug? After hearing, okay, you get the benefits, which are a few, and then you get all the possible side effects. And it nearly every time, one of them is death. And then don't take it if you're already using this, and this. And in Canada, they're not actually allowed to have pharmaceutical companies advertise on TV, but because we also get US channels, we hear it on the US channels anyway. And I kind of laugh and go, that ad is not doing anything for me personally to make me want to go to my doctor and ask for it.
Right.
But I'm on this side where I'm educated and very aware and know to ask the questions and research what's going into my body. So I love that you've come on the show and that you're sharing this and that you're doing this work and speaking out to let others know, because there are many of us who have been raised in the belief, if you get sick, you go to the doctor and they'll make you better. Mm-hmm. And I don't love that belief because, first of all, it's not up to the doctor to make you better. It's your body. So you need to take some responsibility. And that responsibility is educating yourself. And that's a lot of power to give someone else as well. And you need to take your power back in taking your responsibility to figure out how to work in partnership with someone or several people, because it isn't always just one person either, in order to heal. And as you said earlier, your body is designed to heal. And I love to say, we just need to create the environment for it to be able to do so. And that's where people do that.
So true. And that is, I think that is the key. And we have to create that environment. And sometimes that environment means slowing down and finding ways to manage our stress.
Yes.
Because stress isn't everything. And yes, that conversation is a long conversation, whether you're talking to Melissa, to me, to your physician, it is a longer conversation. And sometimes we have to go through that to get to the root cause of the stress and then come up with ways to help you manage that stress.
Yes. And recognizing that the issue is stress, because in today's world, even before the pandemic, the world was the most stressed out it had ever been. And then the pandemic just added a whole new layer of stress. And we look around and we see everyone else stressed out and we normalize it. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't. We should recognize that stress is a huge issue in our health journey. And our health is a journey. It's never done until the day that we do actually check out of this life and move on, right? So we always have to be focused on our health. And I remember stats, and I think I posted it once on LinkedIn and you commented too, that 90% of all doctor's visits are related to stress.
Mm-hmm.
And 65% of all disease is triggered by stress. And I think your comment was, it might even be higher than that.
I believe it is higher than that, yes.
Right? So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, stop and do a check-in with yourself. Where is your stress level on a scale of 1 to 10? And I don't want you just to think about the physical stress. What's the mental stress? What's the emotional stress, right? It all adds up. So we typically underrate our stress because we only think about the physical stress.
Mm-hmm.
But if your stress levels are high, take the time to actually start to address that. We can run lab testing to see where things are at for you, where your adrenals are at. Stress will drive your hormones out of balance. Stress can upset the balance in your gut. All of these things down the line start to trigger disease in the body. So if you start to address the stress now, you don't have to go down that path. And your path was fairly drastic, having to have surgery and quit your job in order to land where you've landed, which is a beautiful place. But to the audience, don't let it get to that point. Recognize it now, because you're worth it. And if you want to, live a full, long, vital life, what you do today matters. And if you need help with any of it, you've got Dr. Melissa here who can help you with getting off your medications safely and looking at any contraindications between medications and supplements, which I love. So thank you so, so much for your time on the show here, Melissa. I love to ask all of my guests a couple questions before they leave. And so my question for you is, what does don't wait for your wake-up call mean to you?
So what it means to me is allows me to educate people, not to wait 4 years, I had to be hit over the head with a 2x4, sort of, so to speak. If you don't wait for your wake-up call, because you may not wake up if you don't take a chance now and make a change. So if you're in a situation where your health is suffering, recognize it and do something about it now.
I love that. Listen to your body. It will tell you. How can people connect with you if they would like to do so?
Yeah, so they can connect with me on LinkedIn. They can connect me on my website, Dr. Melissa Balizan on LinkedIn, or drmelissabalizan.com. I also have a gift for you. So drmelissabalizan.com/podcast. You can go and find that gift.
Please share what the gift is, because it's an amazing gift.
Yes. So the gift is 5 questions that you should ask your pharmacist or physician before starting a medication and or a supplement. So these are key things that you need to know before starting these pills.
I love that. Great tips in there for everyone. So definitely go to drmelissabalizan.com/podcast so you can download that. And I will put all of Melissa's contact information in the show notes. And is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with today as just a final tip that you would like to share?
A final tip, I would say, start now. Start simple. Things that we do are simple steps. So take that first step today and you're on the right path.
I love it. So the first simple step is literally to download that questionnaire. And can they still use it if they're already using medications and supplements and they're now wondering if it's okay? Can they still take that questionnaire with their supplements and meds to the pharmacist?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And I know that you changed so many lives, and thank you for doing what you do. And thank you to the audience for listening. And if you liked the show, it resonated with you, you know someone that could benefit from it, please share it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. Thank you. If you're enjoying my content and someone that wants to step into being proactive in your health and learning more, I would love to invite you to join my membership community. There's a link in the show notes. For only $19.99 a month, you get access to all of my content, and there's a lot, as well as weekly calls that you can come and get your health questions answered. It's truly priceless. I'd love to see you join the community. Check out the link in the show notes.